Sing grace, how sweet the sound.
A moment of unity amidst a time of intense sorrow and grief. Former President Barack Obama delivered a touching eulogy at the funeral of Reverend Clemente C. Pinckney nearly 2 weeks after the shooting in 2015. Obama's spontaneous singing of Amazing Grace brought thousands to their feet. It's moments like these that happen minutes, days, weeks, and years after the tragedy that proved the strength of the Holy City. And this morning, on the 10-year anniversary of this tragic day, we remember the Emanuel 9 and the good they brought to this world. Good morning, Charleston. I'm Mel Orland.
And I'm Conley Greason. We'll get to our memorial coverage in just a moment. But first, Storm Tracker meteorologist Kirsten Clark is getting you ready for the day. Kirsten.
Yeah, it's going to be hot and humid. You know, Conley and Mel will mention some of the memorial events happening today. I will say, if you are going to be heading out to any of those, make sure you grab an extra bottle of water so that you are staying hydrated. It's going to be hot and it's going to be humid out there today. We're warm and muggy but dry as we kick off your Tuesday morning. Yeah, it's shaping up to be a nice sunrise, that's for sure, as we look over the Isle of Palms and the Intracoastal Waterway. 76 degrees in Charleston, 76 in Beaufort, and 75 in Georgetown and Somerville. So just hanging on to a few passing clouds, but again, we're dry. We're going to be hot and humid as we head into today. Temperatures in the lower to middle 90s, but it's going to feel a lot hotter out there. We'll look to stay mainly dry under a mix of sun and clouds, although with that typical summertime pattern back in place, can't completely rule out a quick passing shower or thunder shower along that sea breeze. We'll talk more on that heat and humidity coming up here in just a little bit. Plenty of green on those traffic maps still. I'm not seeing any reports of any crashes out there, but I do want to make you aware of a water main break that has all lanes of Montague Avenue closed this morning between Dorchester Road and Lawyers Lane. So again, North Charleston Police Department tweeted out about just under an hour ago saying that all lanes of Montague Avenue between Dorchester Road and Lawyers Lane are closed because of this water main break. They say that Charleston Water System is on scene, but they don't have an estimated time for repair. So if you can, avoid this area and find an alternate route. Starting to see that traffic slow down some on 26 eastbound, but for the most part, everything's still flowing pretty well. But you can see there on the left side of your screen, that's 26 east and westbound over by Ashley Phosphate. You're going to start to see a quick tap of the brakes right there. 526 east and westbound, not looking too bad. Certainly a steady flow of traffic, but everything is flowing well. Going to take you 17 minutes on 526 from West Ashley to Mount Pleasant, 19 minutes on 26 from Somerville to downtown.
This News 4 Traffic Tracker update was sponsored by Mr. Sparky, America's on-time electrician.
Ten years ago today, 9 parishioners at Mother Emanuel AME Church were victims of a racist shooting.
We're taking time this morning to share the names and faces of the Emanuel 9 as we honor their lives and all the good they brought to this world. Reverend Clemente C. Pinckney was 41 years old and the pastor of Emanuel AME Church. He served God and the people of the Low Country for more than 20 years. At the time of his death, Reverend Pinckney was a state senator for District 45, where he had been in office since 2000. At that time, he was the youngest African American ever elected to the South Carolina Senate.
Tywanza Sanders was the youngest person killed. He was 26 years old. His mother, who survived that night, said Tywanza died trying to protect his great-aunt, Susie Jackson. Tywanza graduated from Allen University and returned to Charleston, where he worked as a barber while still pursuing his passion for music. Friends and family created a scholarship fund in his honor. It's raised tens of thousands of dollars since it started.
Susie Jackson was a longtime member of the church. She was the eldest victim of the Emanuel 9 at the age of 87 and is described as her family's matriarch. Jackson served as a trustee and usher. She was a member of Emanuel AME for many years and sang in the adult choir. She was a fixture at Sunday services and Wednesday night Bible studies. Her family told us they'll never forget her delicious low-country breakfasts. A Freedom Memorial Garden keeps her memory alive on Alexander Street, which is the path she'd take to get to the church.
Ethel Lance attended Mother Emanuel AME for most of her life. She spent nearly 7 days a week at the church. The 70-year-old retired after dedicating more than 30 years as a member of the housekeeping staff at the Gilliard Auditorium. Lance was a lover of gospel music. Her family remembers her as a caring and giving person who was always encouraging of their success.
Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton was an assistant pastor at Mother Emanuel. She was 45 years old. She was also a beloved track and field coach at Goose Creek High School. Reverend Singleton was a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and a dedicated mother of 3. Her legacy of motivating young people continues through her son Chris, a former pro baseball player who's now a motivational speaker and accomplished author.
Cynthia Graham Hurd was a self-proclaimed book lover and community activist. She was a 31-year employee with Charleston County Public Library. She was killed just 4 days before her 55th birthday. She's a graduate of the University of South Carolina and a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. In 2016, the St. Andrews Public Library was renamed in her honor. She was the manager of the branch at the time of her death.
Reverend DePayne Middleton Doctor was a 49-year-old native of Hollywood. Before ministering at Mother Emanuel, she served as a minister at a number of other local churches, including Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church. She retired in 2005 as the Charleston County Director of the Community Develop Block Grant Program. Reverend Middleton Doctor was a loving mother of 4 girls.
An educator at the time of her death, Myra Thompson was leading Bible study that night for the first time. She was 59 years old and left behind a family, including 2 grandchildren. Her family told us Emanuel AME was her home away from home, and she loved being involved with ministry and the people and children of the church. Myra came from a big family, having 12 siblings.
Reverend Daniel Simmons Sr. was 74 years old, a 4th-generation preacher and retired pastor at several area churches. He served in the Army and worked with the State Department of Corrections as a teacher and counselor. He was also a Vietnam veteran and recipient of the Purple Heart. He earned a bachelor's degree from Allen University, as well as 2 master's degrees. And there are several projects and initiatives to honor the Emanuel 9. The Mother Emanuel Memorial Foundation broke ground on the memorial courtyard 2 years ago.
Our Lauren Lennon joins us live from outside of the church where additions are underway. Lauren, what's the latest on this project?
Yeah, Conley and Mel, we were able to come out here and see some of the progress of this memorial yesterday, and the vision for the memorial is quite remarkable and beautiful. Now, the architect behind the design says the hope is for people to come, reflect, and leave the space changed and determined to bring good to this world. Now, there's several or multiple phases to this project. Right now, the team is continuing work on phase 1, which is the memorial courtyard. In the last year, a brick wall was built to define the area. Site preparation, excavation, and foundation work have also been completed, and the installation of the east bench has begun, which will rise to about 9.5 feet tall. There will also be a west bench on the other side of the courtyard and a name fountain in the middle, which project leaders say will have the names of the Emanuel 9 carved around the fountain's edge.
This design emerged from so many conversations with members of this congregation, with families of the victims. And at the end of the day, what we wanted to do is create a congregational space, a place that brings people together, a place that responds with beauty to hate, a place that responds with love. And I hope that we are able to do that.
Phase 2 of this project is the Survivor's Garden. Phase 2 of this project is the Survivors Garden, which will be on the other side of the church. It will have an open lawn surrounded by live oak trees and benches dedicated to the survivors of the tragedy and the church itself. Now, the architect for the memorial says they plan to finish and open the courtyard by early next year. And once they open, they plan to go right into starting work on Phase 2, which is the Survivors Garden. Now, the Mother Emanuel Memorial Foundation, they will have an event later this evening to honor the victims, the families, and the survivors of this tragedy. And News 4, we will have a team there to bring updates both on air and online at abcnews4.com from that event and tribute. Working for you, Lauren Lennon, News 4.
We're going to take a full look at your forecast, talk about what to expect for the day ahead. That's coming up here in just a few minutes.
But first, the jury in the Karen Reed murder trial set to begin a second day of deliberations. ABC's Matt Gutman has the details in today's GMA First Look.
In this morning's GMA First Look, all eyes on the jury in the Karen Reed murder trial.
Karen, how are you feeling?
What's believed to be the largest crowd yet of Reed supporters flocking the courthouse as the first full day of deliberations ended. The jury being tasked to decide whether Reed is guilty of hitting her police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her SUV and leaving him to die in the snow after a night of drinking, which she denies. The high-profile case gripping the nation, O'Keefe's close friends, Brendan Kane and John Jackson, telling GMA that this time around they are hopeful justice will prevail.
You're fighting an uphill fight, despite the fact that all the evidence points in exclusively one direction.
We're hoping that this jury has been presented with, the truth.
And coming up at 7 a.m., legal expert Dan Abrams weighs in live. With your GMA First Look, I'm Matt Gutman, ABC News.
My generalized myasthenia gravis was unpredictable and limited what I could do. But Ultomiris is continuous symptom control with improvement in activities of daily living. It is reduced muscle weakness. And Ultomiris is the only long-acting GMG treatment with the freedom of just 6 to 7 infusions per year for a predictable routine I can count on.
Ultomiris may lower your immune system's ability to fight infections, increasing your chance of serious meningococcal and other infections which may become life-threatening or fatal. Complete or update meningococcal vaccines at least 2 weeks before you start. If treatment is urgent and you're not vaccinated, you should receive antibiotics with your vaccines. Don't start if you have a meningococcal infection. Infusion reactions may include back, belly, limb, or chest pain, muscle spasms, blood pressure changes, tiredness, shaking chills, bad taste, breathing problems, or face, tongue, or throat swelling. Ultomiris is continuous symptom control. Talk to your neurologist today.
Good morning, Charleston. We're working for you with a Storm Tracker update.
Starting your Tuesday off with a beautiful sunrise over Edisto Beach. Got some folks out here taking a little stroll, dipping their feet in the water. I don't blame them. It's warm out there this morning, and they're soaking up that sunrise this morning. So just a few passing clouds, but we are dry, and really those high thin clouds really add to that vibrancy of that sunrise. 76 degrees right now in Charleston. High pressure in control. So again, we're dry, but we are certainly warm and we are certainly muggy out the door. 75 in Somerville and in Georgetown, 76 in Charleston, and 76 down towards Beaufort. As you step out the door this morning, I made a little checklist here for you. Make sure, of course, you grab those sunglasses. Got a good deal of sunshine sticking around for the day ahead. But where we are going to be hot and humid, make sure you also grab that water. Temperatures are going to warm up very quickly. And by this afternoon, we'll top out into the lower to middle 90s. Here's how Futurecast sees our day. We'll see a few more clouds break up, and we're going to be left with a good mix of sun and clouds through the day. We enter more of this typical summertime pattern where we can't completely rule out a stray shower developing along that sea breeze each afternoon, but I think most of us will stay dry. Anything that does develop today will come to an end overnight, and we'll just hang on to a few passing clouds. We'll hold steady in the low to mid 90s through the rest of our week going into this weekend, so above that average high of 89 degrees. But once you factor in that humidity, it's going to feel hotter out there, and at times could feel like the low to mid 100s. So very important to limit your time outside if possible. If not, at least take breaks in that air conditioning. Drink lots of water and make sure you are taking it easy out there. Otherwise, out on the roads, I'm not seeing any reports of any crashes out on the interstates, but certainly starting to see that traffic slow down on 26 eastbound. I do want to remind you of that water main break that has all lanes of Montague Avenue closed between Dorchester Road and Lawyers Lane. North Charleston Police Department, they tweeted out over an hour ago and said that Charleston water system is on scene, but there's no estimated time for repair. So in the meantime, find an alternate route. You're looking at the Westmoreland and the Wando bridges, smooth sailing in both directions on both bridges. I'm looking at my laptop right now where I do have some traffic cameras pulled up. And just past the 209 mile marker, closer to Midland Park, that's where you're going to see 2 cars pulled off into that right shoulder. Just use caution around them. Otherwise, not seeing any incidents out on the interstates.
This News 4 Traffic Tracker Update was sponsored by Mr. Sparky, America's on-time electrician.
Today, an accomplished author is releasing his 7th book on the anniversary of his mother's death. Chris Singleton is the son of Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, one of the Emanuel 9. In the years since his mother's death, he's carved a path of inspiration and change, dedicating his life to keeping his mother's memory alive. From a professional baseball career to being a motivational speaker and successful author, his words have reached people all around the world. Acceptance is a common theme in his books. He aims to take the lessons he learned in his personal loss of his mom and make them easy for children to understand. He joined us on Good Morning Charleston last week to talk about his new book, Love Your Neighbor. He wrote it for parents to teach their kids how to love one another.
My favorite page says whether their skin is darker or lighter, their hair is looser or tighter, if somebody's older, their skin is wrinkled or rough, why should it matter? Love is enough. And so just teaching our kids how important that is.
Love Your Neighbor is available in local bookstores. You can also purchase his book on Amazon today, or you can get a signed copy on his website, chrissingleton.com.
3 organizations continue their fight to raise awareness for gun violence. Everytown for Gun Safety, Moms Demand Action, and Students Demand Action are calling on lawmakers to close the Charleston loophole. It's blamed for enabling the Emanuel AME church shooter to acquire a gun before a background check revealed a drug charge. Reverend Sharon Risher's mother is Ethel Lance, one of the victims. She says while the pain of that horrific day is still present, the call to action is as relevant as ever. She said, quote, "To our lawmakers, I do not want your thoughts and prayers. I want laws that value our lives." And stay with us ahead on Good Morning Charleston. Coming up at 6:40, we'll speak with the executive director of Moms Demand Action to learn about their fight to raise awareness for gun violence and also their work to close the Charleston loophole. Again, that's at 6:40 here on ABC News 4.
This evening in North Charleston, Rebuilding Every Community Around Peace is holding a walk to raise awareness for gun violence. It gets underway at 6:30 this evening at 2332 Meeting Street Road. And happening this evening on the peninsula, Charleston City Council set to take a second vote on a teen curfew. The new ordinance would create a curfew Thursday through Sunday from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. for anyone 17 and under. It would apply from East Bay to Broad Streets and King to Carolina Streets. The meeting starts this evening at 5 at City Hall.
Still to come, we're now entering the second day in the retrial of former Somerville jeweler Michael Colucci. The details we've learned from his return to court.
Here's your Storm Tracker's certified most accurate weather forecast.
High pressure will keep us mainly dry through the middle of our week, but we've entered more of that typical summertime pattern where a sea breeze shower or thunder shower can't be ruled out each afternoon, but rain chances remaining relatively low. Temperatures, that's not going to be low. We're going to be heating things up. Mother Nature saw summer, first day of summer is in the forecast, so she's cranking up the heat. We're in the low to mid 90s through these next several days, but once you factor in that humidity, it's going to feel hotter, so cannot stress enough to take it easy outside. Stay hydrated. If you can, limit your time outside. I know it's hard when there are a lot of people who work outdoors, but try to limit your time outside. And if not, make sure you're taking breaks in that AC or the shade. A little bit higher rain chance going into Friday, but still only isolated showers and thunder showers as a cold front approaches the area. Otherwise, rain chances remaining relatively low. We'll hang on to a mix of sun and clouds into the weekend.
6:24 right now. This morning, we're working to learn more about a fire in West Ashley. Flames broke out at the Charleston County landfill on Bees Ferry Road. According to a report from St. Andrews Fire Department, crews were made aware of the fire just after 8 p.m. Firefighters discovered a large pile of metal on fire after arriving at the scene. City of Charleston Hazmat is monitoring air conditions. We've reached out to Charleston fire officials to learn the status of the fire this morning, and we'll keep you updated. Today, testimony is expected to start in the retrial of former Somerville jeweler Michael Colucci.
He's charged with his wife's murder. Sarah Lynn Moore Colucci was found dead from strangulation near the couple's gold warehouse in Somerville. Yesterday, his highly anticipated retrial started with jury selection. After roughly 7 hours of a selection process, we now know the 12 jurors who will decide Michael Colucci's fate. The jury was selected from a group of about 130 people. His first trial ended in 2018 when a jury wasn't able to agree on a verdict. Still to come, we're taking a deep dive into the history of Mother Emanuel AME Church. The special information we were able to learn about the Low Country landmark.
And coming up, a project years in the making to honor the lives of the victims, the survivors, and the families affected by the Emanuel 9 tragedy that took 9 lives 10 years ago today. I'll have the details on the updates with this memorial project after the break.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk. Weekend flash flooding in Triadelphia, West Virginia tore through the town's volunteer fire department. The wall of water destroyed equipment and left a muddy mess. And in North Carolina, water overtook streets in Greenville Sunday night into Monday morning. More rain is in the forecast this week with the possibility of more flooding.
Listen to Off the Radar, winner of the National Headliner Award for Best Information Podcast.
We're working for you with a Storm Tracker update.
A beautiful start to our Tuesday. We're left at the beautiful sunrise as we look at our beach cameras, but I wanted to show you that view from Mount Pleasant overlooking the Ravenel Bridge. And you can see that beautiful sunrise glow out there on the bridge and even on the tides here. 76 degrees in Charleston, so it is warm and it is humid. We're dry, just hanging on to a few passing clouds. 75 in Somerville and Moncks Corner, and 76 down towards Beaufort with those dew points in the middle 70s. So you'll feel that humidity as soon as you step out the door. We'll stay hot and humid even as we head into this weekend, looking mainly dry under a mix of sun and clouds, although an isolated shower still can't be completely ruled out along that sea breeze each afternoon. We'll take one more full look at your forecast, talk more on that heat and humidity and those rain chances coming up here in just a little while. Plenty of green still on those traffic maps, but you'll notice a little bit more yellow along 26th eastbound. That's to be expected this time of morning. So you're going to start to tap the brakes back around, let's say, University Boulevard down through Ashley Phosphate Road. But once you make it past there, everything's looking good. I want to remind you of this water main break that has all lanes of Montague Avenue closed in North Charleston between Dorchester Road and Lawyers Lane. Again, that water main break. Charleston Water System is there on scene, but they don't have an estimated time for repair quite yet. So we're working to learn more, and we'll keep you updated as soon as we hear anything. Looking good as you make your way through the 526 I-26 interchange. You're going to start tapping the brakes back there, though, around Rivers Avenue if you are on 526 eastbound this morning. So certainly a steady flow of traffic, but everything is flowing still.
This News 4 Traffic Tracker update was sponsored by Mr. Sparky, America's on-time electrician.
Today marks 10 years since 9 lives were taken in a racist mass shooting during a Bible study at Mother Emanuel AME in downtown Charleston. Our Lauren Lennon joining us live outside the church this morning with an update on the Emanuel 9 Memorial designed to honor the victims, survivors, and their families. Lauren.
Yeah, Mel, well, the architect behind the design says that this design emerged from several discussions with family members of the victims and also members of the congregation. Now, this project is years in the making. Now, yesterday we were able to see where it stands today, and right now the team is continuing construction on phase 1 of the project, which is the memorial courtyard. Now, this phase consists of 2 fellowship benches, an east and west bench, described as having high backs that arc up and around like sheltering wings. Construction of the east bench has begun. Now, in the last year, a brick wall has been completed that defines the memorial courtyard. Site preparation, excavation, and foundation work has also been done.
I hope that what people will experience when they come here is a sense of connection with the families, with the congregation, with the city. That the events of that day that were intended to drive us apart will not. That they will do the opposite, that we will find a way to bring people together here.
Now, phase 2 of this project is the Survivors Garden, which will be on the other side of the church, honoring the survivors of the tragedy and the church itself. The project's architects say that they plan to finish and open the memorial courtyard to the public early next year, and then they hope to transition right into phase 2 of this project, which is the Survivors Garden. Now, the Mother Emanuel Memorial Foundation, who manages fundraising, construction, endowment, and outreach for this Emanuel 9 Memorial, will be having an event tonight to, again, honor the victims, the survivors, and the families tonight, and we will have a team at that event to bring updates both on air and online from that event. Working for you, Lauren Lennon, News 4.
Thank you, Lauren. And this morning, we're remembering the Emanuel 9. Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Reverend DePayne Middleton Doctor, Reverend Clemente C. Pinckney, Cynthia Graham Hurd, Myra Thompson, Susie Jackson, Reverend Daniel Simmons Sr., Tywanza Sanders, and Ethel Lance.
The tragic shooting forever altered the lives of the 5 survivors, Felicia Sanders and her granddaughter, Jennifer Pinckney and her daughter, and Polly Shepard. Mother Emanuel AME is hosting several events this week to unite the community during this somber time. There's a service happening today at the church from 11 to 1. Tomorrow evening, there's a Bible study at 5:30. Thursday evening, a mental health discussion starting at 6:30. All of these are taking place at the church. There are more events happening as we approach the weekend, and you can find those details on motheremanuel.com.
Resiliency and resistance. It's the theme Mother Emanuel AME Church has kept since the beginning. Lee Bennett Jr., a historian with the church, walked me through years of persecution. He breaks down Mother Emanuel's history and perseverance and explains why it's so important to keep the story alive.
Time period is around 1816, 1817. Morris Brown led some 1,000 followers out of the White Methodist Church. One of the noted members of the Hampstead congregation was Denmark Vesey. Denmark Vesey led the planned slave insurrection of 1822. The church was destroyed board by board, and then South Carolina state legislation closed all the African churches from 1834 until 1865. Now remember that congregation, the Hampstead congregation. They continued to worship in secrecy, underground, and then re-emerged some 3,000 strong and purchased the land on this site. And once the Civil War ended, we have Bishop Daniel Payne coming back to Charleston, and he selects Richard Harvey Kane to be the first pastor of Emanuel. Now, this is 1865. This is the first time we're using the name Emanuel. And amazingly, one of Denmark Vesey's sons reemerges, Robert Vesey, to be the lead architect to build a church on this site. And that church is erected in 1872. The wooden structure does not survive the earthquake of 1886 and then rebuilt starting in 1891. And that's the edifice that we're in today. It still has the original floors, all the pews, all of the stained glass windows, the gas lighting within the church, the 3 chandeliers, our communion rail, our chancel rail, all a part of the 1891 church. The massive pipe organ dates back to 1908. That organ was purchased for $800 and is still the organ we use every Sunday. Who we are has not changed within the church as well. This is still God's house. The doors of the church are still open. Certainly part of our history is the tragedy of June 17th of 2015, where a young man came to Bible study on that Wednesday evening. He shot the pastor first and murdered 8 others. There were 5 survivors. It doesn't seem like 10 years. It just happened because we're never going to forget the lives that were lost here at this church and the survivors as well. The church has been here for 207 years. I know the church will survive, a resilient church, and will continue to grow.
We're going to take one more full look at your forecast and one more look at your roadways. That's coming up here in just a couple minutes.
Plus, our memorial coverage of the Emanuel 9 continues after this break. We'll speak with a Lowcountry advocate about the fight for gun reform over the last decade. It's been 10 years since 9 lives were stolen in a racist shooting at Mother Emanuel AME. The tragedy sparked concerns about what some call the Charleston loophole.
Organizations across the state are pushing to close that loophole and for lawmakers to pass stricter gun laws. We're joined this morning by Angela Farrell-Zabala. She's the executive director of Moms Demand Action, a group fighting for safety measures to protect people from gun violence. Angela, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
First, can you explain what the Charleston loophole is and what your group wants changed?
Absolutely. Well, it's a federal law that actually allows the clock to run out when a federal background check is when it's being done. So basically, after 3 days, if a background check has not been completed, then by default, it would go through and the purchaser would be able to gain access to a firearm. When we think about a background check system, usually 90% of these background checks will go through in moments. And so anything that is taking longer means it requires further investigation by law enforcement, and they're 4 times more likely to be denied access to a firearm at that point. So this is an important loophole that needs to be closed for the safety of our citizens.
And Angela, how did this gap in the state's law play a role in the shooting 10 years ago?
Can't believe it's been a decade. Lives have been shattered. And a decade later, we still have a legislature that has not done anything to close this loophole. And currently we have this, it's in committee, the law that we're talking about right now, that we're trying to get through, and it's waiting for a hearing. We have gun sense champions and other supporters that are trying to get this done because the majority of South Carolinians want to see this basic foundational law passed. And so that's where we're looking at, but we're not going to stop fighting to make sure that we're protecting all communities. When we look at white supremacy, when we look at how this happened, this shooter was able to access a firearm, even though he would have been prohibited from buying one through a background check.
And when you look at the past 10 years and of course this tragedy, but the other tragedies that have happened in the years following, how do you think gun violence has changed over the last decade? And has, this specific tragedy impacted future ones?
Well, there's a couple things I think of. First and foremost, I know that the majority, not just in South Carolina, but across this country, want to see stronger foundational gun safety laws that are going to protect our communities. We're tired of knowing that this is the leading cause of death for children in this country, that there's so many tragedies that can be avoided if we just have tighter, more foundational gun laws. And this does not fly in the face of Second Amendment. I hear a lot of people saying you're going to lose something. That's not true. With that privilege comes great responsibility, and we want to make sure that our communities are safe. But I also would say that our landscape has changed. We've seen a rise in extremism, political violence, and so this kind of thing, this loophole or any type of foundational gun law, requires the urgency to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our community safe from harm that, again, is not an inevitability. It's something that we can actually do something about.
All right, Angela, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.